Hello everyone, and let me start by saying how pleased and indeed relieved I am to be able to join you for the second Martin-Roth-Symposium, and may I say a thank you in particular to the organising committee for inviting me to participate. I'm also delighted to be joining you from my office at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, reopened to the public a couple of weeks ago after 138 days of closure, the longest period of closure since the Second World War. A glimmer of light at the end of a very long and dark tunnel, an experience I know shared by colleagues across the world, and giving us the opportunity for the first time in several months both to reflect and to imagine and shape a new future in a social, political and economic context that has of course changed beyond all recognition. The context for any discussion about the role of museums in the middle of the 21st century, the role of any public institution come to that, has also been transformed. Discussions and debates that were in the tentative early stages before lockdown are now being accelerated. Calls for change to institutional strategy, values and culture have become more impassioned. And I welcome that new sense of urgency and impatience, whilst at the same time, of course, wishing desperately that the events that have led to this new sense of urgency and ambition had not taken place. Only last year, ICOM, the International Forum for Museums, made a protracted and ultimately unsuccessful attempt to design a new definition for museums, which suggested that once again there is a perceived contradiction between museums as places of scholarship and debate, for learning, for the safeguarding and conserving of humankind's creative and cultural legacy, and their responsibility to connect more powerfully with contemporary society, with its many and complex challenges, to innovate and find new modes of engagement. Now it is clear that museums must develop an ambitious and sustainable response to the challenges thrown down by the Black Lives Matter movement, following the gratuitous and horrific murder of George Floyd in Minnesota, in a world where nearly 1 million people have lost their lives to coronavirus, and with the economic impact and uncertainty that now lies ahead for so many across the world in the months and years to come. And if that were not enough, those of us who call the UK home have the added complexity and confusion of Brexit to look forward to. So in this new reality, what is the future for museums as places of entertainment, which can lift our spirits, make us smile and indulge in some escapism, to have some fun, at the same time as embracing the complex challenges and opportunities from the last few months? It can be daunting, and I remind myself constantly of the British historian David Olusoga's recent quote: "There is a tendency within Britain to see history as a place you go for recreation, to feel good about yourself, and that this cannot any longer prevent the telling of history, warts and all, honest and transparent." Museums have some challenges to respond to for sure, around equality and diversity of opportunity in their ranks and at board level, around decolonisation and restitution, and around the very survival of their operating model and financial sustainability. But they also have a role to play in shaping and inspiring a future of possibility and opportunity. A museum at the top of its game, even now in 2020, should provide experiences which are just that, experiences which are joyful, fun, uplifting, optimistic, emotional, and responsive to the world as it changes around us. We are not businesses, but we should be business-like. We are not part of the entertainment industry, but it is okay, I think, to say that we are in the happiness business, looking to entertain as well as to inform, to be places for serious debate about the future of our society, but places for escapism, for leisure, for recharging. Many cultural organisations in the UK and elsewhere are trying to navigate a path through what at first glance appear to be competing priorities and demands. As I speak, the heated public debate in UK cultural circles, primarily taking place through Twitter, surrounds a leaked draft 10-year plan developed by the National Trust, a charity as custodians of 300 country houses and estates and huge swathes of countryside, which tries to make sense of this new reality, reducing costs to reflect depressed visitor demand, and at the same time looking to equalise their visitor experience for a more diverse audience, and using their country house inheritance in particular to create a more balanced narrative, not least where it involves the lives of their original inhabitants. The criticism of what at first glance seems to be perfectly balanced and responsible discussion document, and certainly at least well-intended, has been somewhat predictable, with its opponents deploying, in my view, some well-worn and tired cliches. This quote is fairly typical from a well-known cultural commentator and designer whose blushes I will spare. Quote, "The country house is Britain's greatest contribution to the history of art. It is one of our great treasures. The National Trust has sworn to protect the country house, and now it is trying to neglect it. They, the National Trust, are trying to turn themselves from an antiquarian body into a group which is in the business of entertainment. In the entertainment industry, all that counts is getting visitor numbers up, so that's what they do. They'll put in go-kart tracks and bouncy castles given half the chance. It's so cretinous." This is the old Disneyfication line of attack that implies there is no space between populist entertainments, theme parks, football, the cinema, and high art and scholarship. No room for programming and experiences that entertain as well as educate, that inspire as well as inform. For critics of moves away from the status quo, it has to be one or the other. And if you are doing both, you are either dumbing down or you are super serving the cognoscenti, the educated elite, the culturally empowered. This thinking cannot be allowed to re-emerge, certainly not at institutions like the V&A, with its audience reach and its physical resources. 4 million visitors a year, 100,000 members, 2.5 million objects, and 7 miles of public galleries. We have the space and experience to serve and reflect different interests, perspectives, preferences, and modes of consumption in what is, after all, for most people, their leisure time, without spreading ourselves too thinly and compromising our commitment to excellence. Museums operate as part of the experience economy and have a serious track record in delivering programming which is memorable, emotional, and crucially, Instagrammable and TikTokable. Audience feedback and research clearly show that museums need not be pressured into choosing between artificial conflicts as they adjust to the demands and challenges of the moment. Very few of the nearly 1.5 million people who visited the V&A to see exhibitions on Christian Dior, David Bowie, or Alexander McQueen, or who attended the seminal takeover of the V&A by Galdem, an organisation established to support women of colour in their creativity, would say that they were not entertained as well as informed and educated. These are performances and events, after all, or a happening, as one visitor memorably described the Savage Beauty exhibition. Nor is there any evidence to suggest that those who visited other parts of the museum felt that we had diluted the museum's commitment to scholarship and education in the breadth and depth of our programming. Our museum, and many others like it, was created from the Great Exhibition, like the World's Fairs that followed, using design, scale, wonder, and ambition to entertain the population. 6 million people, a third of the UK's population at the time, came to see the exhibition, as well as engaging and inspiring them through art and design excellence from across the world. The building that became the V&A, from the world's first refreshment rooms designed by William Morris, through to the soaring drama of the cast courts, the elegance and light of the medieval and Renaissance galleries, and from the majesty of Aston Webb's Cromwell Road entrance and facades, to Amanda Levitte's icy ceramic courtyard on Exhibition Road. This is an institution that has been designed to provide a canvas and a stage for performance, for entertainment and inspiration. Martin-Roth's final exhibition as director of the V&A achieved this delicate but powerful balance and overlap between excellence and entertainment. An exhibition on revolution, a story of 1960s rebellion and the shifting of social tectonic plates told through art, design, fashion and performance. Literally next door to an exquisite and forensically researched exhibition on medieval embroidery, Opus Anglicanum, a perfect example of an institution in tune with its audience, connected with issues and agendas in the real world, but rooted in peerless and painstaking research, conservation, and display of objects from across the world that tell a story of human creativity and skill at its apogee. Responding to Black Lives Matter, coronavirus and Brexit is a serious business, a generational challenge that must be met. But entertainment, a shared visceral and emotional experience, joyfulness and optimism are more important than ever. Thank you for listening.